guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to share with you all of my favorite makeup brushes, eye brushes, face brushes, foundation brushes, basically everything I use on a daily basis and my go-to brushes. So if you guys are interested in hearing about my favorite face brushes, then just keep on watching. Alright, so I pulled out the brushes that I use every single day, the brushes that I travel with. All of these are dirty because I use them today, and I am gonna insert a demo of me using the majority of these brushes and how I did my makeup today, so you guys can see all the brushes in action. And you guys see me use these brushes all the time. I tell you over and over, like in my unboxing videos, like Ipsy, BoxyCharm, and just in general in my tutorials, that I hate buying makeup brushes. I'm really cheap about makeup tools. I hate buying brushes, so I will use the same blending brush every day and like spot clean it every day, and I have for like 2 years with one of them in particular. So these are all of my favorites that have held up with time, and most of them are really affordable. So I'm going to start off with foundation brushes, and I always use a beauty blender. Even if I use a foundation brush, I always end up using a beauty blender. I just love that finish, so I'll go in with a brush and get it kind of like maybe 80% of the way blended out, and then finish it off with my beauty blender. I just love that finish. And then a brush can just give me a little extra coverage and just make my foundation apply like really smoothly on my skin. So with brushes, I'm not super particular with my foundation brushes, but there's some that I really love and use regularly. And then this one I've mentioned before. This is one from Smashbox. It's their sheer foundation brush. This is what I use today. So this is like a huge brush. It looks like a paintbrush, and you just go like this and your foundation is on. And part of why I really love this brush is because sometimes I don't really want more coverage with my foundation brushes, and I don't want my makeup to feel too heavy. So this doesn't really change the amount of coverage I get with my foundation. It just applies it very seamlessly without feeling like it's gonna end up looking heavy. So I really like that, and I like that you can blend out your foundation in like 5 seconds. So I love this brush. This is a brush I will definitely repurchase. They sent me a bunch of brushes. Some of them are really pricey. I believe this one is pricey too, but if I ever lost this brush, I would definitely repurchase it. And then I have a couple other foundation brushes from Smashbox that I use because I have them, and they are a little pricier, so I will tell you what they are, but I'll also give you a cheaper alternative. So this is the full coverage foundation brush, and it does exactly that. It gives you a very full coverage effect. It has really dense bristles, so when you apply your foundation to this, like, you're gonna get a really full coverage look even if you're using a lighter foundation. And then I also really like the blurring foundation brush, and this one's not gonna give you as much of a full coverage. It's gonna diffuse out your foundation and just blend it out really nicely to give you more of like a medium coverage look. So this one definitely gives you a full coverage. Just pay attention to the bristles if you're looking for a particular foundation brush. If you're getting really dense bristles, that's going to give you more of a full coverage look. If you're getting bristles that are fluffier and have different layers to them, that's going to diffuse out your foundation and not have it go on more heavy or just like give you a full coverage look. So that's something to definitely look out for if you are on the hunt for a foundation brush. Just paying attention to how dense the bristles are. The denser they are, the higher coverage you're gonna get. If they are more fluffy or just diffused a little more, you are gonna get more of a medium coverage. So I use both of these a lot. I believe they are pricier, and Smashbox did send me those. So if you guys want something that's cheaper, that I've actually repurchased a couple times because I believe it's like $3. This is the foundation brush from e.l.f. I've had this for a really long time, and I think it works really, really good. So this one is going to give you a full coverage effect, and this does have denser bristles, but it's a little tapered on the outside as well. So it's going to diffuse your foundation out nicely too, and it's not going to look like really harsh on your skin. And I find that it gives me a very similar effect for probably 1/10 of the price maybe. So if you're like me and you like to finish off your makeup with a beauty blender, you can definitely use a cheaper foundation brush to buff out your foundation. And I don't find that I waste any more product with this brush compared to a higher end brush. So those are the brushes I use the most for foundation. Definitely the sheer foundation is my favorite because it doesn't change the coverage of a foundation. And you guys know I usually don't go for like super full coverage. And then also the e.l.f. one has been my go-to for maybe a year and a half. And then I've been using the other Smashbox brushes for about 6 months now. So getting into powder brushes, and I have two that are my staples, two that I go to all the time, every single day for several years. One, you could definitely tell I've used this brush way too much. It is like a $3 brush and I could definitely replace it, but it works, so I'm not going to. This is the small tapered brush from e.l.f. So this is what I use for translucent powder under my eyes. It is tapered. And I also like that this brush is a little bit dense, and that way when you dip your brush into the powder, when you apply it on your face, it's gonna stick to your face, it's gonna stick to your brush, and it's not really gonna like diffuse all over the place and you end up wasting more product. So it really holds product onto the brush. It packs it onto your face. If you want to bake with it, you definitely can. And I just love that it has a tapered edge and it's something that's a little fluffier and denser. So this is really, really great for translucent powder. And then if I use a tinted powder under my eyes or down the center of my face, or to like clean up my contour, I always use this tapered brush from Real Techniques. So the difference between these is this one is definitely a lot softer. This one has less bristles to it. It's a little bit smaller compared to this one. So if I were to use something that had a tint to it with this brush, it would end up looking a little too powdery. And then with this, it just gives me the right amount of product. And then when I use a translucent powder with this brush, sometimes I have to go back and dip into the powder like a couple times because it is a smaller and more fluffy brush. And with this, it's just like really quick and easy. So this is my favorite for translucent. This is my favorite for any kind of face powder that has a color to it. So those are my two favorites for just powder like under my eyes or just smaller areas of my face. And I also love this brush for setting my eyes before eyeshadow. I use that every single day. And then for all over powder, I'm like super not into big fluffy powder brushes. Like they almost like make me nervous when I go to apply them onto my face. It's like too much at once. So I use the stipple brush from e.l.f. I've been using this every day for years. I believe I have another one where the handle is broken and I still use it sometimes. And I believe this brush is around $3. I would happily pay like $25 for this brush. It's awesome. I use it every day in at least one way. So I use it every day for translucent powder all over my face, whether it's pressed or loose. It's perfect. And I don't like to use a big powder brush because sometimes with a denser brush, it's just gonna give you too much product at once. And I really like to use minimal powder on my face because all of the brush hairs are tapered in different lengths. You're gonna get a really nice diffused look. And something I love to use this brush for is to blend out my bronzer, especially if I get like a bronzer stripe on my forehead. This is perfect because it diffuses it out and just makes it look a lot more natural because the bristles are all different lengths. So this is a brush I cannot live without. I've been using this brush. This is the second one, but I've been using this brush, this type of brush, since I believe around the beginning of my channel. I remember I did an e.l.f. haul probably like 2 months into my channel, and that's where I got my first one of this. And then I recently got my second one. Well, a year ago I got the second one of this, so I need that in my life every single day. So my all-time favorite blush brush is the Real Techniques blush brush. I have several blush brushes. I always mess up saying that, but I have several of them, but I always end up using this one and loving this one. A lot of other blush brushes are either like super fluffy, so especially if you have smaller cheeks, like it ends up getting blush all over the place, or they're really dense, so you get a lot of color, a lot of pigment, and I like very minimal blushes. And also, if you do like more colorful blushes, this is something that's perfect because you can diffuse out the color really nicely and you can build it up if you need to, and that way you're not getting like too much harsh color in one place. So I love this because it's tapered, the bristles are all different lengths, and it's just precise enough to get like wherever I need to put my blush. If I want to hold it down and get it like more diffused out and like build it onto my face, or if I just want to use it in a smaller area, this brush is perfect. I've been using it for years. I've gotten a lot of other blush brushes over the years, but I just keep going back to this one. I've had this one maybe for like 3 years. So I love my brushes. I don't need to replace them anytime soon. Even when the handles break off, I still use the broken brushes because I love them so much. And then let's get into cream contour. So this is the stipple brush. I believe it's a small stipple brush. no, a small airbrush brush from e.l.f. It's part of their Beautifully Precise line. I've been using this for a year. This is gorgeous for cream contour. So I used it today. I love that it's tapered, it's small, it's at an angle, so you can get really precise, and then you have little like fibers that are just a little bit longer. That way it really blends out your contour. And it's definitely not one of those brushes where as you start to blend out your cream contour, like the product disappears and it ends up in the brush. I find that happens so many times with like denser brushes, but this one just like picks up a little bit of product and it just smooths it out onto your skin, so you're not wasting a lot of product and you don't have to like build it up over and over again. It's just gonna be very like airbrush. It's gonna look very diffused. It's not gonna look harsh. So I absolutely love this. This is amazing. It's like maybe around $10. I just love it for cream contour. You could pinch it to contour your nose. It's good for every area because you can use it to blend out your forehead, your cheekbones, and it's like the perfect size. You can get it really precise at an angle, or you could build it up and have it just be a little bit bigger too. So I love that one. And then for powder contour, so this is the Sonia Kashuk brush in number 113. You can get this at Target. I looked this up. I believe right now it is on clearance for like $7. I have 2 of them, so I actually used my older one a little bit more, and that's because it's just like angled to my face from years of contouring my face with this brush. And that's kind of why I love using brushes for a really long time, because then they mold like precisely to how you do your makeup. So that's my like why I end up liking them and just using them over and over, because sometimes I feel like I have to break in a brush for months and months and months. So that's why I keep my brushes around forever, and I use this older brush a bit more because it's precise to my face now that I've used it over and over. But this is how one that is a little newer. It's about, honestly, it's almost a year old at this point. This one's like 3 or 4 years old. So this is what it's supposed to look like now compared to the old one. And I just love it because it's dense, so it really like buffs out your contour. Sometimes if it's not dense enough, you really can't contour with it because it's not going to give you a more defined look that you look for with a contour brush. So I really like that it's dense, but you still get some fluffy bristles that are different lengths. That way you can diffuse out your contour. You can go in at an angle like this or like this. So just wherever you want to put it on your face, you're going to get the right angle. It's going to be the right size depending on like the way that you maneuver the brush. So I love this brush. I've never found a better brush for powder contour. And then for bronzer, I've mentioned this in a favorites like 2-3 months ago, and this is something I will definitely repurchase. I got it in that same package with all of these Smashbox brushes, and this is called the Smashbox Buildable Cheek Brush, and I love this for bronzer because it's tapered and then everything's a different length. It's fluffy, but it's still a small brush, so it's not like big and fluffy where you're gonna get bronzer all over your face. You can get a really precise look. And then I also use this for a powder contour if I'm just going in with a little bit of contour. If you want to get a more defined, like really precise contour look, you're gonna need to build it up a lot, because this just takes on a little bit of product at a time, which I like, so you can get a really soft, subtle look. And then if you go in with too much contour, you could definitely use this same brush just to buff it out. Just the taper, the angle, the length of the bristles is perfect. The size of the brush is perfect. This is like one of the best brush discoveries probably ever. I love this for bronzer. It's amazing. So I think those are all of, no, I have a highlighter brush. And then those are all of my face brushes. So I use this every single day, the Morphe M501. Jaclyn Hill recommended this like 3 years ago, and that's when I bought it, and I use it every single day. I use like the same 2 highlighters all the time, so I can get away with using the same brush every day. So I love this brush because it's tapered, it's small, but it's something that's not gonna give you like that line of contour or highlighter. So I really like that because you can diffuse out your highlighter, but you can still get a more blinding look with this. So it really goes well with whatever kind of highlighter product you use, and I could use it down the side of my face too. And sometimes I use a fan brush, but I just find that those end up being like really like too much product, or just ends up all over my face. And this one I can get like really precise where I want, like on my cheekbones or anywhere else on my face. So I love this brush for highlighter. And so now those are all of my face brushes. And I actually don't have as many eye brushes, but I have a couple that are definitely staples, like this one, the Morphe M124. I talk about this brush all the time. I have 4 of them because I go through them every single day. And this is the brush that I use for my lid color every single day. I love that it is dense, it's small, it's precise. And if you have a smaller lid space, you can get really precise eyeshadow placement with this brush. If I use like a Stila glitter, this brush is perfect to like diffuse it out. If you want to do a halo eye, you can get really precise because it's small and like carve out your crease. So you can get really detailed looks with this brush. A lot of times flat brushes end up being a little bit wider or chunkier, and it's just like too much for my eye. Like it ends up not being in the right placement. It like goes over into my crease where I don't want it, and I can't get into like my inner corner with eyeshadow. So I love this brush for my lid. I will probably pick up more. Like I have 4 of them, and that's not enough because I use these every single day for my lid color, and I believe it's like a $3 brush if even. So that brush is just amazing. That's my holy grail for my lid. I have a couple other brushes that I use every day, but some of them aren't like my absolute favorite, so I'm just gonna pull out some of my like holy grail brushes. And this one is the Sigma E40 brush. This is what I use every single day to blend out my first transition shade. And no matter what color or what eye look I'm doing, I absolutely love this brush. It's fluffy and it's not dense, so you can really diffuse out color, and that's why I really like it for my first transition shade. That way I can get it up to my crease, but it's not gonna be like really harsh or like too much product. It doesn't pack on product like really intense. So that's what I really like for a crease brush, and you can get it like into your crease and just diffuse it out really nicely without feeling like the product's going all over the place. It just does a really great job at blending. So I love this brush for blending. It's a little pricier, I believe like $18. I need to get more of these so badly, like desperately. It's totally worth it. I have just been lazy about buying more of these, but absolutely love this brush for blending. And then another one I've been using for like 6 months now. This is from Moda Brushes. This is a angled crease brush, and this one's more packed and it has more bristles to it, and it's just more dense. So I like to use this for like my second transition shade, and I just pack it into my crease, or I use it for my outer V and I just like apply like this and then diffuse it out. And I can apply color onto my eyes really precisely with this brush and just diffuse it out, and I really, really love it for that. And that way I can get like a really intense color payoff. Just use it for my crease or use it for my outer V. I love that brush. It's also super affordable. And then next, this is a Morphe E28. I use this so much. I need to get a new one. The name rubbed off of it, so I had to Google which brush this was, but it's a Morphe E28, and I actually really need to get a new one because like the bristles are kind of misshapen now, but I really like this for blending as well. It's tapered and it comes to an angle, so I love this one particularly for an outer V and to diffuse color out into my crease, and that way it gets pretty precise. It does also have dense bristles, and then just the tapered edge is really, really great if you want a little bit more of a precise color in a certain area of your crease. So those are my must-haves for blending. One more that I'll mention is the Real Techniques, probably a crease brush. This is something I've had forever, and this one is smaller. So sometimes if this brush is like too big for whatever kind of eye shape I'm looking for my eyeshadow look, then I'll use this one because it's smaller, so you can get more precise in like your outer V, especially if I'm doing like a dark brown or a black. Then I will use this brush to diffuse it out, and it's something that's more precise, and it's not going to give me a really harsh look, and I can blend it out really easily. So those are the brushes I use the most for blending. So I do have a couple other eye brushes that I use all the time, but I just use them because I have them, and they're not necessarily like really life-changing brushes, so I'm not going to mention those. But basically these are my must-haves for blending, and then this brush is my must-have for my lid color. Like I cannot live without my Morphe M124. That and my Sigma E40, those are like my essentials for eye brushes especially. Those two are definitely my must-haves, like out of all my eye brushes. Alright guys, so that is everything for this video. I hope you enjoyed hearing about my favorite makeup brushes and my holy grail brushes that I've been using forever. Definitely let me know if we have any of the same favorites, or just let me know your favorite makeup brushes in the comments down below. And if you guys like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I'll talk to you guys soon in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.